Your bank just texted you? Great news! Your savings rate is now 0.75%. Feels like a win until you realize tomorrow's loaf of bread will cost 18% more, your rent is jumping 12%, and your car insurance just rose 31%. In 2026, a silent, perfectly legal robbery is already in motion. Over the next 10 years, it will quietly confiscate roughly 40% of every dollar and pound you own, and most people will never even feel the knife going in. Warren Buffett is sitting on $382 billion cash, earning 5.4% with zero risk. BlackRock and family offices are loading up on hard assets. Meanwhile, your 401k and UK pension are melting in plain sight. The rich aren't scared. They're excited. In the next 16 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how the heist works, why 2026 is the acceleration year, and the 5 moves the wealthy are making right now so you can copy them before your savings become worthless memories.
Let's start with the lie everyone still believes. Inflation is cooling. Official U.S. core PCE is supposedly 2.9% heading into Christmas 2025. UK CPI just dropped to 3.8%. Governments and central banks are popping champagne. Reality check, those numbers are cooked 3 different ways. First, hedonic adjustments. Your new iPhone is better than last year's, so Apple's 12% price hike gets magically erased from the stats. Second, owner's equivalent rent. The biggest chunk of CPI is based on what homeowners think they could rent their house for, not what tenants actually pay. Real rents in London and New York are up 14 to 18% year over year, but the official basket barely registers it. Third, shrinkflation and quality cuts aren't counted at all. Your same box of cereal is now 15% smaller, but CPI calls it the same price. Shadow Stats, which uses the pre-1990 methodology, puts real U.S. inflation at 7 to 8% right now. Trueflation, an independent blockchain-based index, says 6.4%. The Chapwood Index, which tracks the actual cost of living for the top 50 U.S. cities, averaged 9.8% in 2025. Put £10,000 or $10,000 in a high-yield savings account earning 4.5 to 5%, and you're still losing 2 to 4% purchasing power every single year. Do that for 10 years at a blended 3.8% stealth rate, and you've lost almost exactly 40%. That's not a crash. That's a slow, polite mugging.
Now let's talk about the 2026 accelerant nobody is pricing in yet. Trump's proposed 60% tariffs on China and 20% on the rest of the world don't kick in fully until mid-2026, but companies are already front-running. Walmart, Target, and Amazon suppliers have announced 12 to 22% price hikes starting Q1. The New York Fed's latest survey shows businesses plan to pass on 100% of tariff costs to consumers. At the same time, shelter inflation is about to explode again. 42% of U.S. rental leases roll over in the first 6 months of every year. With insurance and property tax costs for landlords up 30 to 40%, economists at Goldman and the IMF now expect shelter to add 1.2 to 1.8 percentage points to CPI in 2026 alone. Across the pond, UK energy price cap rises another 9% in April 2026, and national insurance hikes for employers will force another round of wage price spirals. The Bank of England's own fan charts show a 35% chance UK inflation is back above 4% by Christmas 2026. Meanwhile, the savings you thought were safe are earning peanuts. Average U.S. savings account, 0.46%. Average UK Easy Access, 1.8%. After tax and real inflation, you're losing 5 to 7% a year without touching the money. Warren Buffett's $382 billion cash pile is earning him roughly $20 billion a year in Treasury bills while he waits for the fire sale. Ray Dalio just moved another $18 billion into gold and tips. BlackRock's latest client letter told institutions to expect a, quote, lost decade for cash. The middle class is about to get rinsed, and the smart money is already positioned on the other side of the trade.
Here's where it gets personal. If you have a 401k, IRA, SIP, or ISA heavy in stocks, congratulations, you own the most overvalued market in history at a Shiller PE of 37 and a forward PE of 30. When inflation forces the Fed and BOE to pause or reverse rate cuts, bond yields spike, multiples compress, and the same stocks that protected you from inflation suddenly drop 30 to 50% in months. If you're in bonds or cash, you're losing the race slowly. If you're in property, UK stamp duty changes and US insurance premiums are about to crush cash flow. Real-world example. A £400,000 UK pension pot in a typical 60-40 portfolio loses £9,000 to £12,000 a year in purchasing power once real inflation hits 5 to 6%. Over 10 years, that's £150,000 gone, enough to buy a house in 2015 money. In the U.S., the average 401k balance is $134,000. At 4% real inflation, it's worth only $91,000 in 10 years, even if the headline balance never drops. The wealthy aren't waiting. They're rotating into short-duration tips and I-bonds that adjust with inflation, commodities and commodity equities, copper, energy, agriculture, Bitcoin and gold as non-sovereign hard money, both up 40+% in the last 6 months of 2025. Private credit deals paying 10 to 15% locked for 5 years. Farmland and timberland that rise with food prices. They're doing it now while prices are still reasonable. In 2026 to 2027, they'll be buying your stocks and your neighbor's house at half price when panic hits.
So here's the brutal truth. 2026 isn't going to feel like hyperinflation with wheelbarrows of cash. It's going to feel like death by 1,000 cuts, quiet, relentless, and perfectly deniable. 40% of your savings will disappear without a single market crash, without martial law, without anyone ringing a bell. But it's also the biggest wealth transfer in a generation for anyone who acts before the crowd wakes up. 5 moves the rich are making right now. Get out of long-dated bonds and cash earning under 5%. Move 10 to 20% into inflation-linked assets, tips, gold, Bitcoin. Pay off any debt over 6 to 7% while rates are still low. Build a 12-month cash buffer in 5+% accounts. Cash is about to be king again. Create a buy list of quality assets you'll scoop up when panic selling starts. The heist is coming. The question is, will you be the victim or the one buying the victim's assets at pennies on the dollar? Drop 2026 ready in the comments if you're making moves today. Smash the like button if this just saved you 6 figures. Subscribe and hit the bell because next week I'm dropping the exact portfolio the ultra-wealthy are building right now. Share this with one person still sleeping in cash. Your money isn't dying, it's being stolen. Time to steal it back. See you in the next one. Stay dangerous.